Dear friends, welcome. I want to acknowledge the land, the blood, and the spiritual ancestors of Black and African descent, sitting here in our bodies or in the lands and the energy of those lands that they've become part of. I want to offer gratitude to their contributions that they've made that sustain us all and will continue to do so in the future. Today, we here symbolically honor the beings that have sacrificed, loved, and joyfully worked so hard for the liberation of all beings. I bow in gratitude as well to our living teachers and elders who are supporting our healing and transformation. Today, while he's not of recent African descent, I want to honor Thich Nhat Hanh Thai as a symbol of healing that our elders offer us. A Vietnamese monk, friend of Martin Luther King, and instrumental in getting off the mat and engaging in what we now called engaged Buddhism. He turns 94 today, and his life is a reminder of healing, transformation, and how every moment and every breath is an opportunity to heal and can set us free. I want to welcome all of you here and the ancestry that you bring and the call that you've heard and heeded to commit to healing ourselves and healing the world around us. Buddhists Across Traditions is a UK BPOC, BAME centered collective. And we're here to unite Buddhist and mindfulness groups in the UK and wider in the service of racial healing, social equity, and justice. We know that our practices can help blossom a better, beloved world. For Black History Month, we recognize our African and Black contributions here in the UK and in the world around us. The theme that we've brought for this event, the first time Buddhists are gathering to honor Black History Month in the UK, is called Coming Home, reminding us that racial healing happens in everyday life, in every breath that we take, in every move and walk that we make, that Black ancestors belong to us all, and a reminder that we all come from Africa, our home, the place where human life evolved. Our event today, the second one of the series, is called Healing Ourselves. To heal our world, we need to heal ourselves. We need to go within. We need to use our practice to liberate our minds, to heal our bodies, and cultivate the responses so that we can heal the world around us. For each one of us, Black, white, brown, that journey will be different, as in this moment, the breath that each one of us is taking is different. We need to lean into our discomfort, our feelings of guilt, of shame, of anger, of dis-ease or disease. All of these offer opportunities for healing. We try so hard to protect our sense of self, the views that we have of ourselves, our possessions, our political affiliations, our families, and our communities. We cling to those views, and our reactions are ways we act out to either endorse or reject a view that we have formed of ourselves. We all are composed of so many different views, different beings, different ways, different energies. So these ways of behaving, thinking, and feeling can contribute to individual and collective suffering. We may be familiar with recent research in epigenetics that reveal that our genes connect the energy and trauma of our ancestors, which is transmitted along to us. For many of us, in fact, for all of us who are alive today, it's 400 years worth of pain and trauma that has been transmitted, layers upon layers of pain and joy, passed along in our genes, along with learned behaviors, actions, and social conditioning. These too cause us and others around us pain. So we heal today, not to change the past, but to transform this coding, this genetic coding for our descendants and our ancestors. We're not just thoughts, we are not just physical elements, we are energy. And the energy that we have is our signature. And that signature is contained in our thoughts, in our actions, and our behaviors. How we act in the world, how we engage in challenging social injustice, or how we tackle those issues is as important as our intent. Our intent imbues the energy of our action. Unless we heal, we continue to add and perpetuate this too. We are fortunate that our activist ancestors, Mandela, Martin Luther King, Maya Angelou, to name a few, the elders that we've shown in slideshow, and the elders living today, role model this healing in their behaviors, actions, and way of living. David Olusoga, a British historian, said, "There is no one alive today who is a slave owner or a slave trader. I don't think it's about people feeling guilt or shame. It's about acknowledgement, and it's about truth and reconciliation. But I don't think," he says, "we've done the truth bit yet." So true understanding of ourselves, our body, our minds, our history, that healing brings us closer to ourselves and to one another. A deeper reconciliation. This is courage, the ability to let go, to understand, and to love. It is only then that we can have justice. Cornel West said, "Justice is how we show love in public." So today, we have guides, teachers, knowledge sharers from South Africa, the UK, and the USA. These Buddhist practitioners, mindful practitioners, coaches, healers, and psychologists have spent so much work looking, learning, focusing on healing, and actually also practicing it, looking at how we heal our minds, how we heal our bodies, how we incorporate the indigeneity of our ancestors, to incorporate the Buddhist mindful and psychological practices. It is in calling with this theme and energy that they felt that we honor this date of Thich Nhat Hanh's 94th birthday. And we have with us, who've heard the call, a Vietnam veteran, and from the land who moved beyond retribution and kickstarted a societal healing process, truth and reconciliation. We have someone from there too. And we have someone who has looked deeply into the failures of our health and well-being sector here in the UK and the world around us in treating the trauma of Black bodies. I'm humbled, in gratitude, and privileged for you to be here and to have these wonderful beings with us this evening. So we will commence in a minute with a Nobantu who will lead us through a guided meditation, after which she will do a sharing. She will be followed by Dr. McInnis. After that, we'll have a little break of 5 minutes just to take care of our bodies. And finally, we'll have Ralph Steele from the USA. Please do what is required from you to take care of yourself. And we will end the session with an opportunity for you to ask questions. And we will close in true African style with music. If you have any technological breaks, please pause, breathe, and notice what emotions arise for you in that time. You will also note that the sound and chats are muted to between the hosts and yourselves. We will open for the Q&A. Thank you, dear friends, and welcome again.
Sanibonani. That's a greeting from South Africa in isiZulu. That means I see you. I see your ancestors. I see everyone who has contributed to who you have become. I see your strengths. I see your hopes. I see your dreams. I see your struggles. I see your resilience. Enkosi, thank you very much. I would like to invite you to arrive into this sacred space. I would like you to allow your ancestors to also accompany you to this sacred space. In Africa, we never walk alone. We always walk with our ancestors. So we welcome the ancestors to also be part of this sacred space, to connect with us, to connect with the land. We thank Mother Nature. We thank the sacred earth for allowing us and giving us permission to be on this planet. I'd like to invite you to take up your posture of the nobility of your ancestors, arriving in your cushion, arriving in your chair, allowing Mother Nature, allowing the ground to really welcome you. With your feet firmly on the ground, if you're sitting on a chair, if you're sitting on a cushion, allowing the cushion to welcome you. Your spine supporting you, feeling the back of the chair on your back and feeling the contact between your buttocks and the surface you're sitting on. With your shoulders relaxed, your jaw dropping, mouth slightly open, and taking a deep breath in. That's connecting us around this circle in the spirit of Ubuntu, which means I am because we are. taking another deep breath, connecting to all the ancestors that are with us, and really feeling the energy of us all as one. For we have allowed the walls of the mind to separate us, and yet the ever opened heart of Ubuntu, I am because we are. I can never be truly me without you being truly you, is always there with us. Sitting in this energy of being connected, connecting to those who have come before us, sitting and feeling and having all your awareness to your navel, the gut center, the center that connects us to our ancestors. In Africa, the umbilical cord, when it falls, is buried in the ground. This is the center that connects you to your mother, connects your mother to her mother, and to generations before us. Let's just invite and allow our ancestors to be with us. I'd like you to really connect, because the DNA connects us to all our ancestors. And going back in time, allow an ancestor from the third generation and before that to just come in the space right now. Being aware of a temperature change, being aware of a sensation in your body, being aware of your breathing, awareness of tingling sensations on your skin, awareness of the sound, just allowing this sacred visitor to be with you right now. Dropping into your belly, really listening to what message this sacred ancestor is bringing you. connecting the mind to the body. Thanking your ancestor, thanking all our ancestors for gracing this occasion, for bringing their energy and blessing this gathering and our practicing together this way, this morning, this evening, this afternoon, whatever time it is for you. Nkosi, siyabonga.
Friends, just a brief introduction to Nobantu Mpotulo, my sister of the soil, my sister of the land that I was born in, the nation of the Amazulu people. Nobantu has been practicing for Buddhism for 17 to 20 years. She brings both into the practice the wisdom of Ubuntu, the wisdom of the continent, the wisdom of the South African lands. She brings the spirit of reconciliation in her work and in her way of being. In the 1990s, 1996 actually, South Africa embarked on Truth and Reconciliation program, the dream of Bishop Tutu and many others post-apartheid. And Nobantu was one of the facilitators. We never got to meet because we were both involved in that process. But she facilitated these workshops for both the victims and the perpetrators of the violence in South Africa during the apartheid era. The courage and strength and love and compassion to do that is phenomenal. Now, she brings in the coaching of Ubuntu into her work, into her daily life. And with the training program that she's been with Spirit Rock Meditation Center, she now incorporates all those elements into her way of being, into her work, into her practice, into her life. So I'd like to hand over, after that very lengthy but heartfelt welcome, to Nobantu to share. Thank you, Nobantu. Sibonga.
Enkosi Regina siyabonga. In my language, in Xhosa, when you say enkosi, that means as you thank someone, you mean that I see the greatness in you. Thank you again. Thank you very much. I hail from South Africa, as Regina has said. I'm the daughter of the soil, the African soil. I have the trees, I have the mountains, I have the valleys as my family. And I get nurtured by plants. And I always look up to Mother Nature as my nurturer. The space is my university. So I greet you all in the spirit of Ubuntu. That means I am because we are. I cannot coexist. I cannot live alone. I am stronger when I'm with you all. This great spirit of Ubuntu, which again has been the same spirit that allowed us as the people of African descent in South Africa, because we have open arms, to allow the colonialist into our homes, who in turn decided to take over our land, our minerals, rape our women, and yet we had the heart of Ubuntu that was still open. And after many, many centuries, yes, still we are, still having open hearts. People of African descent always lead with the heart. They came with the Bible and looked at our African spirituality to be uncivilized, barbaric. We had to buy into the Bible in order to buy our place in heaven. Until we decided enough is enough. The Africans started to organize themselves at the beginning of the 20th century. The African National Congress was formed, and there was silencing of that with the Anglo-Boer Wars and all the wars to take over the land and the minerals. Political movements were banned, and a lot of people who organized went into exile. But still and still, people of African descent had their hearts opened. And in the 1960s, after the 50s of a lull in activism and having a lot of silencing of political activism, the students started under the name of Steve Biko, who was still a student at tertiary institutions. He started the Black Conscious Movement through the South African students' organizations. Because of the open hearts of Africans, the students were organized in conjunction with white students. And then it came that we have to really claim our identity. We have to be conscious of who we are as Africans. We have to have this sense of pride of our Blackness. We have to empower our inner thoughts. We have to stop to believe in these negative assertions about who we are, and also the distortions of our history. How do we begin as the people of African descent not to internalize this oppression and believe the lies that are told about us? Steve Biko started to say, we need to reclaim our mental, psychological, and intellectual right to be positive and to be productive and to have thoughts that look at us as the people who are in their land, who deserve to have human dignity in their land. The 70s saw a lot of turmoil. There were the 1976 riots, where high school pupils as young as 10, 12, up to the age of 16 were killed because they didn't want to learn in Afrikaans. They were denied to learn in the language of their choice. The 76 riots happened in Soweto, and unfortunately, Steve Biko was killed in 1997 by the South African police. And Steve Biko, one of the potent quotations he has says, the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. So in propagating for the Black consciousness, Steve Biko was looking at how, as the Black people, we can start to free our minds. I'm thinking of an experience that brings pain to me as I think about this history of this beloved country of mine, South Africa. A lot of exiles after the political parties were banned. Some of them were in Lesotho, which is one of the neighboring countries here. When I was still a teenager, my family was exiled in Lesotho. So we had my brother's son, who then was 5 years. So when I took time off university at the age of 18 in 1982, I had to take Lungile to visit his mother in Lesotho. I remember we came to Lesotho on the 5th of December, 1982. Lungile was 5. I was 18. And during this day, we got a tip-off that the South African Defence Force would attack the places where the refugees stayed. So we were told to go and sleep outside in the cornfields. I remember being this young girl who was fearful. And we were out in the fields. And as we were hiding, the South African Defence Force choppers were hovering over us. Shots were fired. Bombs were dropped. People died. 42 people died. This was in 1982, December. And it's amazing, Lesotho being such a small country, they didn't have the infrastructure to deal with all those 42 dead bodies that were decomposing. I remember seeing Oliver Tambo, the then president of the South African African National Congress. During the funeral, Steve Biko crying. It's amazing how much all this trauma gets embedded in our bodies. I went home after that. I suppressed that trauma. It's amazing how much after 20 years in 2012, when I was in a retreat in Damagiri in South Africa, all that trauma came up as I was doing some Tonglen meditation with Andrew Harvey. And I went into the state of shock. I started to hear all those bombs. My body went cold. I could feel the blood leaving my body. It's amazing how much these traumatic experiences of being separate and trying to take through greed, hatred, killing, not seeing eye to eye, what they bring to the body. And one thing that I've found helps us as African people, we are people who are always moving. We're always in the body. I'm reminded when the Nelson Mandela's, the Sisulus, and other political prisoners were in the prison for many years. What sustains them was staying in the body, moving, singing. And as they were cutting stones, chiseling stones for nothing, they would be singing, Abelungu Godem, Abelungu Godem, Abelungu Godem. And they would be moving and moving. So that helps us as Africans because we're always singing, we're always dancing, whether we are happy, whether we are sad. This helps us then to deal with the activation of our central nervous system. So as I sit here, Malcolm X's quote comes to mind. I quote, he says, "The most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the Black woman. The most neglected person in America is the Black woman. And why is this so? Why are we having this? It's the hatred, it's the greed, it's the advent of slavery. And if I'm thinking about what recently happened in the UK with the Windrush generation, this suffering of having people being taken as slaves from Africa has not just affected Africa, it's affected America, it's affected the West Indies. And with the Windrush, we had the UK government going to the Caribbeans, getting people of African descent to come and rebuild the UK economy after the war. And then what happens in 2012 when Theresa May decides that we have now to get these people back to home. Where's home? People who have been there in the 60s. People could not access social services. And 164 people, more than that even, were detained illegally. And I say, Africa, we will still arise. For in our bodies, we still carry the resilience of our ancestors. Our ancestors who had to deal with wild animals in the forest. So how then do we use our body's practices to be able to deal with this trauma? The trauma that did not start with me or you. The trauma that we're carrying from our ancestors. The first thing we need to do is to continue our connection with our ancestors. In Africa, when we are born, our umbilical cord doesn't get to be left in the hospitals, but it is buried in the soil, connecting us to the elements, connecting us to the ancestors. And secondly, what works with us as Africans is mindfulness of the body. This breath that we breathe. How when we breathe, we become aware that I'm breathing in all the strengths from my ancestors. I'm breathing out the toxicity that has come as about my violation. I'm breathing in the open-heartedness that we have as people of African descent. And I'm breathing out the poison that gets to be put in my head of saying, I am less than. I arrive today, I open my heart, I will not allow the external factors to kill my spirit of Ubuntu. I would like us just for a few moments, as I am about to stop, to just feel our ancestors with their open hearts. You can even allow yourself to sway side by side, connecting to everyone in the room, connecting to your ancestors, feeling your heart opening and expanding, and not allowing the hatred, the delusion, the greed in this world to allow us. Amandla, may this belly connect us to Mother Earth. May our bellies connect us to the goodness of our ancestors. Thank you. Diabonga.
So to complete, the call was Amandla. I respond, Owetu. And I say, Sibonga Nkosi, Sibonga Kakulu. Thank you in English. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, big. Thank you very much. A heartfelt thank you to Nobantu, my sister of the soil. I feel I'm back home. So thank you for that. Thank you for the connection. And thank you for bringing Africa into this cold evening. In a different vein, I'd like to welcome Dr. Erica McInnis, whose name, Mapule, was given to her when she visited South Africa. And name means rain, or big rain. Am I right, Nobantu? So Erica brings with us a clinical psychology background. She has a PhD in clinical psychology and has been working in the system, the NHS, and we value that very much in the UK. Her work and her approach has gone beyond the traditional clinical psychology. It looks very much on the impact. Actually, it looks really at the limitations of the current offerings for Black and brown bodies. So her focus is really around African-centered approaches to healing of trauma, to looking at emotional well-being of people of color, both in adults and children. And for a lot of her work, she's actually won a scholarship, Churchill Scholarship, to expand her knowledge in this area. And she's really highly involved in a lot of emotional emancipation circles for healing, for resilience building, for people of African ancestry. And I was really touched because as part of this, I was watching the videos of all the presenters, and she talked very movingly about the trauma, the double whammy, she calls it, of the trauma that hits Black and brown bodies through slavery, through colonization, and to the continued erosion of being or conceived of as substandard in a society that devalues Black and brown bodies, but values the wisdom that they bring, but not the bodies. So without further ado, let me hand over to Erica. Thank you, Erica.
Thank you for such a lovely introduction. I'm a member of the Association of Black Psychologists, but I initially trained as a clinical psychologist in the UK in very Eurocentric models. But what I found is that a lot of those models didn't really speak to a lot of the experiences that I was having. And the Association of Black Psychologists started off in the USA in 1968, when a number of psychologists walked out of the American Psychological Society Association's convention, because a lot of the psychology that was being talked about was seeing Black people as deficient, wasn't helping us, and actually contributing to the oppression of Black people. So they walked out and formed their own association. But what they quickly realized is that if they didn't have a new psychology, all they would be doing is what the white psychologists were doing with a different colored face. And what they really needed to do is to look at the healing practices in Africa prior to colonization. As Dr. Wade Nobles talks about, he talks about drinking deep from the well. There were wellness practices in Africa prior to colonization or an enslavement, or there wouldn't have been healthy people that you could take to go and work in plantations and to work across the globe and to survive the Middle Passage and journeys on ships in very inhumane conditions. So there were spiritual practices that kept us well, that kept us going. And how could we tap into those to help us through our everyday challenges? And they developed Black psychology, African psychology, and really what it is, it's using the best of African practices, African culture, African thinking, in constant exchange with the everyday world for wellness. It's not using all of African practices, because not all of any culture is any good. Not all of Eurocentric culture is any good, but taking the best bits and seeing how can we use those for our wellness. And what we find is our ancestors know about how to get through struggles. So there was the enslavement, but also the civil rights movement. And if you think more recently, now we've got the Black Lives Matter movement. And what we're finding is that it's just a different generation facing the same struggles, which is the modern day lynching of Black people in very public settings. And if that's what's going on in front of cameras, when we're seeing Black people being shot in the back, Black people being knelt on to the point that they can't breathe, what's going on in private? What's going on in HR departments, in workplaces? What's going on in hospital wards where people are working? What's going on in offices? So this sort of oppression of Black people, Nobantu has talked about it happening very overtly as apartheid at an institutional level in South Africa. But the same things are going on in different countries, more covertly, sometimes more overtly, but it's the same way that Black and brown bodies are being oppressed, and the spirit of us is being oppressed. So what we really need to do is to look at how we heal ourselves from our past traumas and ongoing traumas. Because one of the things about the system of white supremacy is that it doesn't give us time to recover. The thing about stress is that stress on the body can be quite helpful at getting you through a situation. So a burst of adrenaline, a burst of cortisol, the chemical, can help you through. But if there's prolonged stress, one thing after another, that's when the body can start to experience burnout. And the amygdala, the part of the brain that's meant to be the smoke detector, that's meant to be looking out for danger, if it's always on, it can become hypervigilant, always looking out for danger, hasn't quite recovered from the last danger, is experiencing danger here and now, and then is even looking out for the next danger. And that can mean that people's bodies can become overwhelmed the sympathetic nervous system, the stress system can end up being switched on for so long that the vagus nerve starts to become overstimulated. And the vagus nerve is the wandering nerve in the body. So anywhere that the vagus nerve touches, our people can end up with exacerbated health problems. So that can be digestive problems, headaches, bladder problems, backache, shoulder ache, all sorts of health conditions, because of the chronic stress that we're living under, when sometimes we haven't even healed from our past stresses as well. So what we're going to do is we've got to look at what are the approaches that can help us to find time to rest and heal in a world that doesn't always give us the space to rest and heal. And one of the things that attracted me to Buddhism was about the mindfulness approach and meditation. It provided me with space to just reflect, space to just be, space to calm down my nervous system because of the constant bombardment that we can get, just shopping while black, walking while black, driving while black, working while black. And then when it's not happening to us individually, it's happening to our extended family, when you're seeing Black people, sometimes in your own country or in other countries, facing persecution, and then it's transmitted on Facebook or social media around. You can get re-traumatized watching our people who are similar to yourself, being modern day lynched, basically. So we're finding that what's happening to us is aggravating our systems, and we need ways of calming it down. And that's what attracted me to mindfulness meditation, and how we can implement that during our day as a daily practice. And even I try using some of these practices every time I change activities, or regularly every half an hour to just do 1 minute meditation, just to try and help calm myself down, because it can be a lot of pressure on the system. And Neely Fuller Jr., he talks about the 9 areas of people activity that the system of white supremacy affects us in. And it can be quite consuming when you're thinking that it affects you when it comes to employment, when it comes to even war, in terms of which of the countries that war tends to be declared upon, and the colour of the people in those countries. It can be relentless. But what we've got to do is to think about our ancestors, and to think about how they got themselves through trials and tribulations. And African psychology, as I mentioned before, it really, one of the areas of Africa and African culture that it looks for inspiration from is the ancient Egyptians. The ancient Egyptians, a lot of the early dynasties and the later dynasties were people who were of dark complexion, people who came down the Nile and entered the Nile Valley from further up, such as Sudan, Ethiopia, and they came with their culture into Egypt. And they had wellness practices that they wrote for us, that we could know them. So they wrote them in tombs, they wrote them on papyrus, they wrote them on the walls, they wrote them everywhere there was a spare space. They wrote wellness practices for us, that we could then preserve them, and we could then keep them, and we could then model them. And sometimes we need to go back to some of those practices. And meditation and mindfulness practices are often associated with the Buddhist culture, but there's Kemetic, ancient Egyptian origins of Buddhism, of mindfulness and meditation. So Black people can see this as part of our culture of origin. And what we can do is we can practice it in ways that are appealing to our culture. So Nobantu talks about how music and how movement can be ways of having a mindful experience and getting into flow moments. And that's something that we can practice in terms of listening to pieces of music and then reflecting. We can listen to inspirational quotes and read those and have a moment of reflection. We can find other ways of making it part of our culture and part of our everyday experience, because we can't pour from an empty cup. We've got to find ways of resting our body, replenishing our bodies so that we can then go out and serve other people from our best selves. Because what we don't want to do is to be so consumed by some of the things that have happened to us that we go forward as wounded healers, or go forward into the world as dispirited people, people who are shadows of ourselves, who can't perform to our full potential because of what's happened to us. So we really do need to follow practices such as good teaching, such as Dharma, follow practices of wise people such as the Buddha, follow the Sangha, have a community of people who are also practicing the similar values to us, to keep us on track, to keep us practicing wellness models that we can keep tapping into the best of ourselves. Because as Black people, there wouldn't have been so much effort put into oppressing us if there wasn't fear about our genius. And it's because of our genius and our capacity for resilience, our capacity to be the best when we're not impeded, that there's been such a lot of effort being put into systems that oppress us. So it's about how do we keep ourselves well? How do we draw on the spirit of some of our warriors that are more contemporary, but warriors such as Sekhmet, who in ancient Egyptian mythology was a warrior goddess. We can then look at Tahuti in ancient Egyptian Kemetic culture, who is the teacher, because we need to learn from our experiences so that things that caught us out last time don't catch us out in the future. And Neeli Fulajuni talks about the purpose of Black History Month is not to just talk about how good we once were, but it's about what went wrong and how can we prevent those things that went wrong for us as a culture happening in the future. So we've got to learn from our experiences, the process of Sankofa, learning from the past, go back and fetch what we've forgotten, and then learn from our experiences to prevent them happening again, but also to help us bounce forward. So what we do, we gain some resilience, but we can actually even gain improved experiences from what we've experienced. We also need to draw on our creator energies, the spirit of Ra in terms of the ancient Egyptian, the Kemetic culture. Ra was the creator god. And we're often complaining about the cultures that we live in and about the governments and about what is wrong. But unless we can create something that's better, all we'll do is experience the same. So we've got to really use our processes such as mindfulness and meditation to give us the space to actually think of something that is better for everybody, to be seeking justice and a new future that is built upon justice. And then finally, look at Imhotep. Imhotep was the god of medicine, and was very much about healing. And really, it fits very well with the theme for today about how do we heal ourselves from our past traumas, that we can put ourselves in the best position, that we can be well for future generations, because future generations will model the way that we are today. So if we start doing things such as reading good texts, such as doing mindfulness, such as doing meditation, children and others that take notice of us will see those things, and then they will adopt those behaviors. And it's really about how do we pass on wellness strategies to other generations, things such as joy, recipes for wellness. How do we help with our stories of where we came from and how we got to be there, got to be here? How do we continue those stories that the next generation know them? How do we continue passing on stories such as proverbs and sayings and cultural memes, which can communicate ways of coping with situations, how we keep those things going? So in summary, for coming to the end of my piece, what I really want to say to people is to say that, yes, we've had a past and we have a present day, which is filled with a lot of pain, but it doesn't have to be filled with suffering. And what we can do is we can use a lot of wellness strategies from different cultures to help us be the best version of ourselves that we can be, that we can continue to resist depression, that we continue to grow from our experiences. And as we come out of the pandemic of COVID-19, we can use this space to renew ourselves, to grow and have a new future with new skills, and having had a rest and being able to be our best selves to contribute to a better world for everybody. So thank you.
We'll just come back to our breath for a minute. Dear Erica, thank you very much for your eloquent and passionate portrayal of the issues. I learned a lot that I didn't know about the Egyptian culture. So thank you for enlightening us on that too. We look forward to hearing you more and seeing you more and being more visible here in the UK. Thank you for your time. Dear friends, maybe this is the time before we move to Ralph from the USA, if we just take a minute to sort of stretch, to take care of your bodies, to just walk around a little bit, grab yourself a drink, whatever you need for a minute or two, just to come back and refresh yourself. We'll be here for those who are here, and we'll hand over to Ralph in about 2 minutes' time. Thank you. Dear friends, welcome back. Just to introduce you to Ralph. Ralph has grown up in the Gula speaking community in South Carolina. For those who don't know history, I've only recently learned about this. The Gula speaking community, or the Gula community in South Carolina, was a community for free Black people. And they've gone and hung and really maintained an African identity, African linguistic connotations, and tried to keep true to the roots of Africa. And the community has also had significant pain and trauma as a result of that. And Ralph, who I'm really honored, is here today, a Vietnam veteran who has pioneered with Jack Cornfield, Spirit Rock Meditation Center, People of Color retreats, and also for the Insight Meditation Society. He has been an ordained monk and has practiced both in India and in Tibet, in the Zen and the Hindu traditions. And so he has also been really involved with the Dalai Lama's meditation team in San Francisco when he was there for a conference. And he, for 32 years, has been involved in life transition therapy, which is offering meditation for trauma in Santa Fe. He is a founder of Life Meditation, Transition Meditation. He's also written a book called Tending the Fire, The Path of War and Meditation. So I'm really honored to have him here today. I was really struck when I was listening to his video, how he asked us all to go within, to heal ourselves, and how for some of us to move out of the experience of racism, of race, is more difficult, and how the role models we have in the form of Martin Luther King Gandhi, etc., only are guides to what we need to achieve. So without further ado, I hand over to Ralph.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Some 2,500, close to 3,000 years ago, Siddhartha was recognized as the Buddha number 27. Not understanding, there's been Buddhas, collapsing and the expansion of our universe. So he turned the wheel. And it's not a religion. At Amherst College back in the early 80s, they had a conference of theologians and scientists with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. According to the definition of religion and science, Buddhism didn't fit. It has its own lane. So he turned the wheel. He gave us a gift of how to manage our body, speech, and mind. Simple skills. That there is suffering. There is suffering. Way before any one of us came into our bodies. And the cause of suffering. And investigating it. And giving us a path to begin to work on. Known as the Eightfold Path. To this day, all the healers, the shamans, medical facility, all physicians use that particular model. The disease, diagnosing it, investigating it, giving you a prescription, something to do. Powerful practice. And the embodiment of the entire teaching goes into that. I'm from Pawleys Island, South Carolina. Yes, that's right. Because of time, I'm just going to translate this into English for you. I was asked to give a prayer, put a prayer together for the 400 years. I thought it would be fitting for us. Oh God, hear our prayer as we acknowledge our ancestors who were ripped from the motherland. Our ancestors who gave us the precious teachings by walking as a community, holding hands into the ocean to relieve their bodies from suffering. We can bear our losses that were inflicted upon us by the system of exploration and extermination. Our ancestors who gave us the gift of seeing, please forgive us for getting attached to objects and situations that have obstructed our view. Our ancestors who showed us as a community that suffering is second nature, that joy, love, and support can heal. Oh God, please forgive us. Please forgive those who ravage the Native Americans, the Indians, that took Turtle Island from them. That was the name of this country before then. Our ancestors who demonstrated that they were stronger and greater than the adversity they encountered. Racism in America is an emotional chain that we were born into. Don't let it define us. As our lineage continue, may we shine. Let's be joyful in honoring our lives as we continue to improve, empower, and lift up our community. Oh God, hear our prayer. I was pretty much walking distance from the house I was born in. And so it was my generation go back, the fifth generation, there was the ships right there. And bringing us over here. So I was born into separation. They call it colored and white. It's pretty expensive for the system. White beaches, white bathroom, black bathroom. Many encounters, of course, not me, it's my childhood years, my cousin had with the Ku Klux Klan. One of those encounters took my father. Therefore, my grandfather, and we called him father, my great-grandfather, took care of me and my brother. Family, making community. Oh my, we know how to do that. Living in Japan, as my martial art teacher taught me, the Japanese community still is amazing. The humble is the humbleness. It doesn't matter what the situation is. Experiencing the Summer Olympics, Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay then, Bob Hayes. I experienced family for the first time in my life from all over the world. No metal detectors, I didn't see any guns or anything like that. No, family, just a family, and that's how the Olympics was designed. The '68 riots here was amazing. I lost so many human beings. At 18 years old, I really thought the world was coming to an end. I'd never seen such a slaughter of human beings. It was absolutely amazing. So now, yeah, Black Lives Matter. And what's so amazing, and I cheer them on, the new generation, is cultural diversification around the globe. People has had enough, and they're making a statement. It's not just, it is one race. It's not just one culture. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Black represent approximately 3% in the UK, and of that, 25% of us is locked up. Here in America, Blacks represent 12.7%, 13% of the total population. 34% of us is in prison. The white supremacy globally or in the Western world will continue to be there because of parents educating their kids. That's just how that is. The suffering continues to go on. But we can do something about that. Agent Orange, I happened to be part of a team twice to go to Hanoi, 3 Army, 1 Air Force person, and 2 Marines. One of us was a female. 3 of us is still living. At one point, they turned to me because they knew I was a meditation practitioner, Buddhist, and they said, "Ralph, we bored. Let's go somewhere." Yeah. We jumped in the taxi, told the cab to take us someplace, to a monastery. We stepped out and they said, "Wow, what's so nice?" I just stick my tongue out. It was as if it's like the air was honey on my tongue. It was amazing. I walked around, what is this place? Oh, it's so nice. Sparkling in the air. I just kept walking around. And what do I walk up to? Thich Nhat Hanh's best friend, Tai Quan Duc, the man who set himself on fire during the Vietnam War. Wow, dropped to my knees. The practice, it came from practice. The statement he made. Oh my, yeah. We can do better. We can teach people how to do better, but it comes through practice. You just can't jump up and say, I'm going to practice mindfulness, and maybe a year later, okay, I'm going to do something for the world, and you end up making all kinds of mistakes or something for the community because you don't have the practice, and practice, and practice, and more practice. For example, Bhikkhu Bodhi, or Lumpur Bodhi is known. It's because of him, of the Western world receiving Buddhist literature back in the 70s. And now he is doing world hunger around the globe. I mean, it's amazing. We have so much food, but because of the system, people can't talk together. There's world hunger. But he's a human being that has practice. It takes practice. As Rihanna said, it takes so much practice. Now, the subtle body, there is a way for us to help each other. And we call it, can you feel it? Or this juice is nice. It's very old in the doctor of Oriental medicine system, acupuncture, they've designed a system to help people working with the meridians. In the Ayurvedic medicine, Tibetan medicine is very old, and the various kinds of energy body workers, on and on and on. But however, in the field of psychology, this is new. This is all science-based information that we call the spirit or soul. Now it's referenced as the subtle body in the healthcare community, which is nice. It's what we're feeling at this very moment. Got my timer here. I got about 2 minutes left. I really want to acknowledge the Gaia House in London Inside. You are making history. This doesn't happen in America. These institutions here, no, 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 no. But it is a monkey see, monkey do kind of thing, so they may step forward. Yes, the community here, the community in America, these meditation community themselves, the white I'm talking about, is working on healing or working on their own racial process. But stepping out like this as an organization supporting Black History Month, that's historical. Deep bow, deepest bow, deepest bow. And all the other organizations. Give you one teaching before I end. When you look at someone, keep looking until you see yourself. If you don't see yourself, then you know you have some issues. Then you can take that issue you have and go and take care of it. And once you've gotten it taken care of, then look at somebody until you see yourself. Because there's a little bit of us in every human being, because we really are all one. Nature just mixed it all up so we can have these kinds of conversations, but the suffering is just horrific. It's never ending, and this always has been horrific. And the women, oh my God, oh, the women. The only thing that has changed for women is that you visibly don't see the chains on their body. That's it. So let's, would you please join me in just humming and ending this. And you can move your body, let's just hum together. That's tuning in with our ancestral nature and the essence, some of the essence and the essence of who we really are. Looking outside yourself is to compare and to discriminate. You will not find happiness that way, nor will you find peace if you spend your time looking for a perfect person or the perfect teacher. The Buddha taught us to look at the Dharma, the truth, and not to look at other people.
Dear friends, I hope I speak for you when I say I'm deeply touched and very moved by the sharings, the depth of wisdom that we've heard tonight. I'm sure that supersedes the opportunity for you to ask any questions. I think the wisdom that they have expressed in the short time more than makes up for not having the opportunity to ask questions. I just want to really bow to all of them, the ancestors 4,094 over the last 400 years that sits in every one of them and in us. I bow to you all in gratitude and the energy, the commitment that you've brought to listen to this collective healing and wisdom that the speakers have contributed to. I just have an announcement in terms of, in the Buddhist tradition, we work on generosity. So there is a dana request, which goes directly to the speakers tonight. So please, if you feel moved to offer dana, please feel free to do that. The link is in the chat, or we'll send you out an email after this. So thank you to all those who've contributed so generously already, a deep bow of appreciation to that. As Ralph mentioned, this is the first time that so many Buddhist organizations in the UK, white-led organizations, have supported, come together to support Black History Months across all the traditions, supporting a very small and new collective called Buddhist Across Traditions for Racial Healing. You're welcome to join our other events that have been curated. Next week, our topic is called Nourishing Ourselves. And we have the amazing Dr. Pamela Yetunde, who, if you don't know, has written eloquently about the theology of Prince. And that is really a moving piece to come listen to. We have Satyani McPherson, and we have Mama D, who shares about African food whispering and wisdom in terms of nourishment. I'd like to dedicate the energy that we've all generated today to the collective healing around the world. May all beings be safe, be free from suffering, and live in ease. To honor the Dharma and the teachings of healing, today on Thich Nhat Hanh's continuation day, please take time to let go of a hurt that you've incurred on yourself, hurt that someone else has incurred to you. Let it go. Forgive them and walk in peace and in the freedom of healing. We will play out. I seek your indulgence. We will play out with some chants, some song, and please, the chat is open. Feel free to pose your question in the chat, to pay your respect to the ancestors, to pay the respects to our wonderful teachers, and to respect yourself too. So thank you very much, dear friends. I wish you well. And if you're still interested in making use of that body, on 25th of October, our session is called Celebrating Our Ancestors, and we will move to African, British, and American music. Thank you.
Walking with friends in mindfulness as the Dharma rain falls upon our heads, brings a smile to my face and joy to my heart, brings a smile to my face and joy to my heart, as we walk on the path as the Dharma rain falls upon our heads, brings a smile to my face and joy to my heart, brings a smile to my face and joy to my heart, as we walk on the path of love, as we walk on the path of love. And though the world assail my body, and though its fears assail my mind, in the Sangha I take refuge. Won't you hold my hand and walk with me? Walking with friends in mindfulness, as the Dharma rain falls upon our heads, brings a smile to my face and joy to my heart, brings a smile to my face and joy to my heart, as we walk on the path of love, as we walk on the path of love. Walk with me, oh my brother, come and walk with me, oh my sister, take my hand, hold my heart, breathe with me, listen deeply, as we walk on the path of love, as we walk on the